Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the wintry hazards that we have had over the past few days and the wintry hazards that are continuing into the weekend as well. Yes, the main area of snow is now clearing out in towards Europe, but we still have very cold air in place. We still have a few wintry showers around, and we'll still see some very cold overnight temperatures, especially tonight. There was likely to be a lot of ice forming, and when we have had significant snow, there will still be a lot of snow around probably into tomorrow with these very cold overnight temperatures. So we still have snow and ice warning issued, yellow warnings that is, and there is the risk we see some more higher ground snow tomorrow as this weather front out to our south and west slowly makes progress, hits that cold air, transitioning us mostly to warmer air, but as it does, could produce some more snow over higher ground. So have a look at that and all of that in detail over the coming days. So we will continue to have colder spells or brief colder periods throughout the next 5 days or so. But we will have a look at the longer range, look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, and if you are a bit sick of the cold weather, it does look likely in the longer range we will be going milder, or at least more towards average, but more unsettled with more of a westerly flow. There could still be northern incursions, could still be some wintriness in the north, but we're not expecting anything too substantial beyond sort of the next sort of few days or so, with it generally, as I said, looking around average. So we'll focus on that in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the links in the description. So to start on the live radar, you can see we still have some wintry showers down the east coast as this big area of low pressure does wrap around back into Europe. We saw significant snow in places yesterday and overnight. We saw quite a bit of falling snow through this morning as well. Quite a few areas, especially in the yellow warning zone, have seen a light covering, but really the only significant snow was in those amp warning regions. I did say it was touch and go. The yellow warnings could see some significant snow, but in the end that snow line was slightly higher than it could have been, and that meant really only the amber warning zones saw major snow. Very, very steep curve we saw from areas that saw very little snow to some areas that saw significant snow. So for example, if we go up towards Sheffield, which I have seen various images for, this whole line here, including Sheffield and just to the west of Sheffield, was all in the amber warning zone up towards Yorkshire. I've seen images of 30 centimetres of snow in around this area. Again, it's slightly elevated, a couple hundred metres above sea level, so it's always going to get colder conditions, but you go a few tens of miles further southwards into some of the Midlands, Nottingham, Derby, Stoke, these areas saw a light covering perhaps at times, or if nothing at all except some falling snow. So very, very small differences in location and elevation made the difference between 30 centimetres of snow and a couple centimetres of slushy, iciness on the surfaces. So there was very, very big contrast. The amber warning zones really did get caked. Pretty well done from the Met Office in my opinion. I did suspect it could have been a bit more widespread, but in the end it was pretty bang on, and of course that's why they are the professionals. North Wales seeing significant snow, and Northern Ireland, as I said in yesterday evening's video, was quite a surprise with how much snow they saw. Again, it was expected from the models, but it wasn't a few days ago. Definitely did pep up in the last couple of days, and some areas of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland got caked as well. As I said though, widely we did see some falling snow tracking through the Midlands into East Anglia and South East England, and there are still a few wintry showers in the eastern and southeastern areas, but again, won't amount to all too much. Ground temperatures are slightly above, still well above freezing. Areas in London saw 10 degrees yesterday before this cold air wrapped around back in, so we won't see any settling snow with this, but could see some heavier showers. This weather front is approaching from the southwest though, and that is going to introduce milder air once again, but it's going to really struggle to make too much progress over the next 24 hours, really moving in from around tomorrow afternoon into the evening, and again could bring some wintry hazards to those areas in the north that saw significant snow yesterday. Again, elevated areas as well. We'll have a look at that in a minute on the UKV. Now, if I do put on the temperatures, as we're around 1 p.m, it's a pretty cold day, especially where we have those snowfall. You see up towards Yorkshire and near Sheffield, it's around freezing at the moment, and of course North Wales as well, where we have significant snow, feeling very cold. Elsewhere, it is milder, but still temperatures in the mid to low single digits, around 3, 4, 5 degrees today. And again, northern areas still cold as well. So it's another widely cold day, but nothing too significant. Of course, it is March, so it's very difficult to be getting sort of ice days and things like that. So we are inevitably going to see temperatures get up towards the mid single digits with the warm March sunshine out there, but it is still a cold feeling day, and if you still have snow on the ground, especially those areas that saw the amber warning, which will likely still have multiple centimetres of snow by this evening. A lot of it will melt because of the sunshine, but still will have probably multiple centimetres on the ground by this evening. Likely to freeze overnight tonight, and could see some very big icy hazards. Now, after you put on the snow depths, again, I would like to, of course, say that these are estimated past 24-hour snowfall depths, and you can see where we got absolutely caked in snow. Again, I must emphasise falling snow, not accumulating snow, but you can see where we saw the amber water regions. North Wales up towards Sheffield and west of Sheffield through that line up towards into Yorkshire. Actually, areas to the north of that, up into the north of England, and the northeast saw a lot of snow as well. I was surprised to not see an amber warning actually issued for these regions as well. Again, the models didn't actually have the snow reaching this far northwards, but in the end it did. And I did highlight that in yesterday's video, that the models didn't have the snow really getting much further northwards than sort of Yorkshire, but in the end it did spread all the way into southern Scotland and northern parts of England, and it's produced quite significant snow in the end, as much as the amber warnings saw. Of course, a lot of this is over quite high ground, so it is expected to see heavy snowfall whenever we do have these sort of conditions, but the amount of snow that's fallen is around 20 to 30 centimetres, and that continues into Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, again, mainly over the higher ground, but widely seeing multiple centimetres of falling snow and most likely accumulating snow. You see elsewhere quite a lot of falling snow as well in these areas. Again, emphasised over the course of this morning we saw a lot of falling snow. Again, I doubt many of these areas outside of where we see these purples actually have seen much accumulating snow, or at least more than just a temporary covering for an hour or so, just because it's not quite cold enough, and of course you need those higher snowfall rates to overcome the surface warmth. But you can see pretty major snow event for early March, I must say. Again, I've mentioned it in the past few videos, but if we saw something like this happen in January, December, or even February time, we would be seeing a lot more widespread snow, and probably amber warnings more widespread, and maybe even a red warning, because we'd be pretty much guaranteed widespread heavy snow. But of course, we do see these events quite regularly in March, because we see a sudden stratospheric warming like we saw through February, and of course we've got very warm air to the south engaging with that cold air, giving a stronger temperature contrast than we would see probably in earlier into winter, giving heavier precipitation. So it really is touch and go when we get to these events. Sometimes we can see the biggest snowfall in March because of the temperature contrast, but of course it doesn't last all too long because we have longer daylight and we have stronger sunshine. So this will mostly melt over the course of today, but those areas where we got the amber warning yesterday and into this morning, and where we have those purples, where we have tens of centimetres of snow, is likely to hold on probably into tomorrow before melting. Now, if we do go over to the weather warnings, we still have some weather warnings issued for the next few days. We've got a widespread ice warning issued for all those areas that saw falling snow yesterday, or significant falling snow through the Midlands, most of Wales, up towards northern England, and then a snow and ice warning for parts of northern and western Scotland, and an ice warning for Northern Ireland as well. Again, we look at this widespread ice warning again from 9:30 this morning until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Ice is likely to be a hazard where snow has fallen. Again, many of these areas in here have probably already cleared all their snow away, and with the strong sunshine out there, it will evaporate quite quickly. But whenever we see areas that hold on to a little bit of snow, or at least a little bit of moisture, ground moisture tonight, we will see quite a lot of ice. Again, lying snow and ice will continue to be a hazard through the rest of the morning. Icy stretches should be confined to higher ground through this afternoon before temperatures fall below freezing widely this evening, and this will lead to untreated surfaces left by wet snow melt, becoming icy at all levels, with some disruption to travel, high likelihood lower end of the impact scale. Again, snow and ice warning from 9 a.m. this morning till 9 a.m. tomorrow. Further snow showers are likely to lead to some travel delays. Again, 2 to 5 centimetres. Again, high likelihood lower end of the impact. Nothing too significant, but of course, always could see some higher snow totals in ice age regions. And then we move into tomorrow. We've still got those snow and ice warning for Scotland, the ice warning widely, but we've got this new warning, a snow and ice warning for most of northern England, up into Scotland as well, from 3 p.m. tomorrow until 6 a.m. on Sunday. Further snowfall has the potential to lead to disruption through Saturday evening into Sunday. Again, I will skip through most of this because it is very much stuff we already know, but it's a transient band of snow which may bring accumulations to higher ground before turning increasingly to rain from the south. But for some areas in the north, this band may be slow moving and snow may persist into Sunday. Again, we have to look at these height levels. We saw heavy snowfall down to sort of 50 to 100 metres over the course of the last couple of days, and even sea level saw a lot of falling snow and temporary accumulations. But here, above 200 metres with 2 to 5 centimetres possible, 5 to 10 centimetres above 400 metres. Again, the last few events above 200 metres, you'd be seeing 30 centimetres of snow. So this is nothing comparable to the snow that we had over the last couple of days. It's a lot more marginal. Low-lying areas, I doubt we'll see much in the way of snow. Maybe some falling snow for a couple of hours at the start, but nothing accumulating really at all. And again, really only over the highest routes where the snow could tot up when we still have snow from this past event. Again, there could be some freezing rain, and we could see some heavier accumulation to the north, and similar accumulations are expected, although this will not melt with lying snow remaining through till Sunday. High impacts, low end of the likelihood. I don't suspect we'll see an amber warning issued for this, just from what I'm looking at in the latest data. But again, it could be issued for the highest routes. I must emphasise, most areas will not see heavy snow. And then finally into Monday, we still have that. Sunday, we still have that snow and ice warning issued in the north. So if we do now go over to the UKV and see what that is showing over the course of the next few days. Again, you can see that snow clearing to the southeast through this morning, and around lunchtime completely cleared. A few wintry showers around and through the north of Scotland, a few wintry showers, and you see that weather front to the southwest trying to approach, giving a bit of wintriness in places overnight tonight into tomorrow, but again, mainly over higher ground, but nothing too significant. As it does push in through tomorrow, snow to higher routes, again not widespread, really those only are those higher routes and through most of northern England where we already have quite a bit of snow. Some parts of the Midlands could see some temporary snow at times, some heavy snow tomorrow night. We're not expecting anything too significant, for eventually clears, milder air moves in, so by early hours of Sunday most areas will be in milder air, and any of that snow that fell below those few hundred metres will have melted completely. Through Sunday, a lot milder day, and you can see some very heavy rain pushing in overnight Sunday into Monday, again emphasised by us being in a lot milder air mass. But look to our north and our west, much colder air is still there, and as we head beyond that into Monday, you see line convection moving through, again pretty typical of a cold front, and the bitterly cold air runs back in. And this is this small cold snap I said at the start of the video that could be coming early next week. Monday to Tuesday, very cold air streaming in, strong northwesterly airflow, northerly airflow. Could see snow showers coming in quite far inland. Again, we are progressing further and further through March, so not likely to see much accumulation from this apart from the higher ground and perhaps overnight. But we could see widespread falling snow, some quite wild wintry conditions out there at times. Could go from blizzards 1 minute to sunshine the next. It could be one of those sort of wild days, perhaps through Tuesday afternoon. For eventually it does start to die down. Could see some heavier snow through northern England there. Again, very big uncertainty as it's 5 days away, but most likely would be a harsh overnight frost. Again, look at those upper air temperatures getting down to the -10 level there through Tuesday into Wednesday. Very cold, but much milder air will be spreading in from the southwest through later that week. Again, if we look at the max temperatures, you can see this afternoon temperatures are widely around the mid to low single digits, where we have snow on the ground, probably still hovering at freezing or just above freezing, but the sunshine will readily melt a lot of that snow. Still will have some around tonight, but nowhere near the 30 centimetres we have seen in many locations. But around 3 to 5 degrees through the day. But overnight, look at those temperatures absolutely plummeting, where we have those snow cover through Northern Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. Could see temperatures get as low as -10, but widely around -2 to -5. As we head into Saturday, still a pretty cold day. In general, still mid-single digits, maybe 3 to 6 degrees and below freezing when we still have snow on the ground. But as we head through Saturday evening, that milder air does push in. Still could be wintry in northern areas, parts of the Midlands perhaps as well, into Scotland and Northern Ireland. But as we head through Sunday, look at that much milder air spreading in. And look at that, Sunday afternoon, widely 10 to 13 degrees. That will melt all snow very, very quickly. As we head though into Monday, colder air sweeps back in, and when you wake up on Tuesday, it will be freezing cold. Temperatures well below freezing once again, and by Tuesday afternoon, struggling to get much above 4 to 6 degrees, and then into Wednesday as well, an overnight frost continuing, with temperatures down towards a few degrees below freezing. So very cold conditions coming in at times early next week, but as we'll see in the ensembles at the end of the video, it is very much a cold snap of around 48 hours before milder air does push back in from the southwest. So if we do now have a look at the longer range, something we haven't really touched on over the past few videos because we have concentrated on the cold conditions, you can see the very cold northerly winds coming in on this latest GFS, and you can see lower pressure moving away. Eventually southwesterly winds come in through Sunday into Monday, but as that low clears, we are wrapped back in to a bitterly cold northerly airflow. It could produce, again, more snow, and I suspect we'll see some more snow and ice warnings, yellow warnings issued, perhaps early next week for those wintry showers. Eventually, though, low pressure does run back in, and we do see southwesterly winds, and perhaps some higher pressure could build in at times. But you can see all that blocking to our north does disintegrate, and it's likely to go a bit milder. Nothing too crazy, probably more towards average, but we should cut out any wintry risks and those widespread frosts as well. If we do compare it to the GEM, see how that what that's showing. Again, low pressure moving away. Southwesterly winds pushing in, that very cold northerly wind coming in for a time through early next week. Eventually we do go back into a westerly flow, but you can see high pressure trying to build in once again, maybe brief northerly there at day 10. Again, you can see perhaps slightly colder air does drift in for a time, but it will be very transient. Maybe a few wintry showers and an overnight frost. So I do think that will be the sort of pattern. We will see further small colder spells perhaps through the rest of March, but I'm not expecting anything as significant as we do have at the moment, where we've got bitterly cold air wrapping around this low, and what we have had through most of this week so far. If you do compare it again to the ECMWF, again, cold air in at the moment, southwesterly winds coming in, and then we're wrapped back around. It's that basically cold air in from the north, but eventually southwesterly winds do win out. Again, science high pressure could build up to our north and our east, maybe easterly winds here, but the continent is starting to warm up, and you can see around 10 degrees at 850 HPA through parts of Central Europe, and this will be telling us quite a bit milder there. Again, nothing ridiculously warm, but perhaps back towards the low teens, and that's something that I'm expecting to see over the coming weeks. We're expecting to see those average temperatures start to climb up when we see these sort of air masses of around 5 degrees at 850 HPA, just above average. I'm expecting to see perhaps low teens, maybe even mid-teens in the coming weeks as the daylight gets longer and the sun strength does increase. Now, if you just finish by looking at the GFS ensembles, you can see cold air in at the moment. This is for London, remember, so further north you go, these colder spells will be slightly longer, and this milder spell through the next couple of days will be even shorter. But the general trend is near enough the same through most of the country. Cold at the moment, turning milder through the weekend, but just really average to slightly above average. And then that real sharp cold spell back down to -10 at 850 HPA, a good 10 degrees below average, before trending back towards average into the foreseeable future. Of course, there are some still colder runs towards the end of March, but of course those get increasingly difficult to produce snow as we head into April, but most runs are generally around average. You can see the operational run is average to slightly above average. Again, would give temperatures probably around the low teens or around 10 degrees or so. Nothing amazingly warm, nothing amazingly cold, and you can see there is plenty of precipitation, but nothing huge. Again, it does look like that the models are not completely sure on whether we'll see high pressure or low pressure dominating it. Maybe a bit of both. Again, you can see the stark contrast in air masses through the dew points, well below freezing dew points at the moment, climbing to 10 degrees over the coming days, then back down to -5. Again, symbolic of very cold Arctic air masses. And again, you can see the 2 meter temperatures, very cold at times over the next 5 days, but also 14 degrees perhaps through Sunday, and then in the longer term, back up towards that sort of 9-10 degrees plus into the longer term. Again, if we compare it to the ECMWF, very similar. Again, 2 colder spells over the next 5 days. The cold spell right now, the cold air in right now, slightly milder through the weekend, and then very cold back through Monday into Wednesday for trending back towards average. So we will continue to see some colder conditions over the next few days. widespread colder conditions. Could be some snow still around, perhaps through tomorrow evening in the north, and then some widespread snow showers perhaps early next week. But again, I'm not expecting anything major, nothing really more than a yellow warning perhaps will be issued for any of these events. So make sure you do stay tuned to those warnings. And luckily, the major snow risk has now departed, and hopefully we will start to see some warmer conditions over the coming weeks. No impeding cold spells beyond the next 5 days as we do head into the middle of March. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you are looking forward to some warmer weather, hopefully, fingers crossed, we see something a little bit warmer over the coming weeks. But I do suspect with the sun stratospheric warming, we will continue to have the risk of colder spells for the next few weeks at least. But we will have to see what happens. As I said, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay safe if you are going to get mixed up in some of these wintry hazards over the coming days. And I'll see you again for another video soon.